Microsoft Teams, and everyone who is joining from all the other advertised platforms. Let me end here, Program Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate, for that informative guidance on and how the legislature proceeds on awarding contracts. Thank you so much for your input this morning. I'd like to then move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the declaration by the BAC members, which is a bid adjudication committee. I'd like to start with each member, as we did when we introduce ourselves, to then declare if they have any interest in this matter or not, and then to make sure that you sign off on the documents and the documents are then submitted accordingly. Thank you very much. If we could start with you, Advocate, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, everybody in the platforms. I wish to declare that I, Mzunzima Mazosiwe, have no interest whatsoever in the tender that we're considering. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mashlaba, please can we just one after the other declare our interests, if any, and then sign off our documents and submit it accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. Maybe as a reminder for what you said at the beginning, that everyone is or her face when presenting. I maybe get that has been forgotten by other speakers. Okay, coming to what now I have to do. My name is Sisa Timothy Mhlaba. I would like to declare that I don't have any interest in this tender process that we are considering today. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, my name is Phumza Mbutuma. I want to declare that I have no interest in the tender that is going to be considered today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. And myself, Ms. R. Abdul, the CFO and chairing this bid adjudication committee this morning, declare that I have no interest in the project that's for consideration for the procurement of the ERP system. Thank you very much. I'd like to then move on to the next item, which is a consideration of bid number SCMU-01/08/2020, which is the procurement of the ERP system. And I would then like to read the report from the chairperson of the bid evaluation committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to our colleagues. Good morning, Advocate Nishitumbu and all our colleagues. Good morning to all our listeners that are on other advertised platforms. As I was introduced earlier, my name is Vuyo Mabandla. Was appointed to be a chairperson of the bid evaluation committee with the members that were introduced earlier. We were requested to evaluate the tender that has just been mentioned, that is supply and implementation of enterprise resource and planning system for the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature. We sat for the first time on the 26th of January and again on the 18th of February and again on the 14th and 15th and 21 and 22 of April 2021. you can understand that this was a very difficult one. Firstly, the bid evaluation received the document from the bid specification committee, and the bid specification committee and the bid specification was approved by the accounting officer. It is here with me in the file, and I hope it's with the file with you, Chairperson, and marked as Annex A. The bid evaluation also satisfied, and we satisfied ourselves that the bid was, if it followed the processes, the correct processes of being advertised on the tender bulletin, on Daily Dispatch, on Herald, and this was done on the 21st of August 2020. It's in the file and it's Annex B. A virtual compulsory briefing session was held on the 28th August, and that is also here in the file with you as Annex C. The bid closed at 11 on the 16th September 2020. And the list of bidders who submitted bids is also in Annex that is marked Annex D. But I will mention the bidders and their names. The first one was YIB, and the second one was New Dawn. The third one was Adapt IT. Another one was Baraka. Another one was Flow Tech. Another one was CCG Systems. Another one was BCX. Another one was OS Holdings. Another one was Gagasi IT. And the number of these bidders was 9. There were 9 of them. So as I've already alluded, that we set on those dates, and the BEC members that were present on that day was chairing on all those days that we set as BEC. I was chairing myself as Mabandla. Mr. Sauli was also in, Mr. Mafuya, Kabane Mafuya, Miss Mngaso, Mr. Twalo. We had an apology of Mrs. Hermans. We also had Advocate Skuman, Omakta Skuman is our scriber, and who's the senior manager from the SCM. I'm sorry that Magda, I did not introduce you. And also an expert support advisor who was appointed by the Secretary of the Legislature, an expert from the Free State Province, Mr. Aziz Alexandra. He was assisting the bid in advising on IT issues. So before we as the BEC proceeded with the evaluation, we checked on all areas as to whether the bidders were qualifying before the process started. On stage 1, what was being checked is whether the potential bidder must be registered with National Treasury Central Supplier Database, which is called CSD. And secondly, the potential bidder must be tax compliant on National Treasury Central Supplier Database at award or provide the tax compliance status. We checked bid document that it must be signed and duly completed together with all declaration of interests and standard bidding documents, all the SBDs, SBD 1, 2, 3.3, 4, 6.1, 7.2, 8, and 9. We checked the attendance of a compulsory virtual briefing, of which it's all the bidders that were in this, we were evaluating. They were all appearing in that virtual briefing session, and there was attendance register. We also checked that the bidder must submit its BE status level of contributor, and it's indicated that whoever fails not to provide that then it will mean is non-compliant with the BEE, not necessarily that is disqualified. We also checked the bidder that they must submit CVs of resources to be used in the project, outlining their experiences in functional area. We also checked that the bidder must submit proof of accreditation or partnership certificate or agreement with vendor of the proposed ERP solution. We did have areas that we wanted to get clarity from the BSC, that is Bid Specification Committee, of which they did clarify some areas, and then the accounting officer also condoned non-compliance with qualification requirements, and there is a letter in the file with you, Chairperson, that is actually marked as Annexure F. And in that letter, it's just showing the areas that we raised issues on qualifications of some of the bidders that did not necessarily have what was actually requested, that is, but it was not supposed to be an issue that is disqualifying them. Hence, also the accounting officer, we actually consulted and he condoned that part. And that was the first stage for all the bidders, as they also were responsive in all the areas that I've indicated above. Moving to the second stage, which is the functionality evaluation. This stage is worth 100 points. The minimum threshold is 70%. Bidders who scores less than 70% on functionality will therefore be disqualified. Those who score 70% or more will be further evaluated on criteria 3. I hope you do understand that part. So on this stage, that then is a functionality which is worth 100 points. We checked on the company experience. The experience for 5 years experience in successful development and implementation of an ERP system. There we would score 20 points if you have the experience of two contactable reference letters, including contract amount for similar work, reference letter signed, and on client's letterhead not older than 3 years from closing date of this request. So on that part, a bidder with those 5 years experience and all the information that is needed there would score 20 points. And then for 8 years experience, you should have 3 reference letters that are all also letters including contract amount for similar work, reference letter signed and on client's letterhead not older than 3 years from closing date of this request. You would be, the bidder then would be getting 30 points on this one, as the letters would be 3. And on 10 years experience, the bidder would be expected to have 5 reference letters, and then you would get 40 points. So these are three scores for different years. 5 years is 20 years, 8 years is 5 years is 20 points, 8 years is 30 points, 10 years is 40 points. We also checked project implementation and management plan. The project plan that covers all the items on the scope of work is detailed. That's what it says. It's clear and easy to follow with reference to paragraph 3 of specification. So the bidder was supposed to have this project plan that covers all the items that were in that paragraph 3 of the specification or the terms of reference, and he would getting 10 points if the bidder actually does have everything that is expected with regards to project implementation and management plan. And then still on this functionality evaluation, we check also skills transfer plan to legislature IT staff. And then this part would be 20 points. And the skills transfer plan should include details of skills to be transferred, details of how the skills will be transferred practically to staff, measurable outcomes that skills have been transferred. And lastly, on this stage, we'll be checking demonstration of the proposed system. The requirement was that there should be a presentation on PowerPoint and demonstration, that is a test dummy of an ERP system, demonstration of an ERP system developed for a company of a similar size and the mandate to the legislature. And the presentation and demonstration must not exceed 60 minutes. And this part will be 30 points. So when we were evaluating the bidders that are just mentioned earlier, which were nine of them, I will start with the first bidder that we evaluated, that is YIB. YIB scored 0 points on the first criteria as the letters were not signed and not contactable. Remember, the requirement was saying the letters should be contactable and signed. So on this point, it scored 0 points. New Dawn scored 0 points as only one letter that met the requirements of contactable and signed. There was only one letter, and the minimum that was required was, I've alluded earlier, at least 2 letters that are contactable. Adapt IT, this one met the requirements of 40 points, as the experience and the letters that we received for Adapt IT, they all met the requirements. Hence, they got 40 points. Baraka got 20 points as only 2 letters which are contactable and signed. Flowtech scored 0 points. Only 1 letter met the requirements out of 6 letters that they did provide. CCG Systems again met the requirements of 40 points as they brought the letters that with 5 reference letters and had that 10-year experience. BCX was scored 0 points as 5 letters of which none met the requirements. OS Holdings got 20 points as only 2 letters which are contactable and signed. Gagas IT scored 0 points as 3 letters did not meet the requirements as per the specification. So WIB, New Dawn, BCX, Flowtech, and Gagas IT were not scored on the requirements of skills transfer, on project plan or demonstration, as they were already below 70% threshold, which is a requirement. So that is how the above were eliminated. Those that we were left with, the first one was Adapt IT, which had the presentation not present on a similar size or a similar environment. Their clients are also more private sector than public sector. There's no customization of our system as part of the presentation. Needs analysis was questioned as to per time frame, but was not addressed. They could not score the additional points as they did not make the presentation applicable to the legislature. They did score 10 points as they did make the presentation on PowerPoint and on an ERP system as per the terms of reference. They did supply a project plan as per paragraph 3 of the terms of registration, and they scored 10 points. They provided training plan with methodology, outlined CV of facilitators included, and that scored 20 points. Their total score was 80 over 100. Remember, I said this stage was supposed to be out of 100 points. So their total score, they got 80 over 100. Coming to Baraka. Baraka, on demonstration, the presentation also did not present on a similar size or a similar environment. They could not score the additional 20 points as they did not make the presentation applicable to the legislature. They scored 10 points as they presented on PowerPoint as per the terms of reference. They did supply a project plan as paragraph 3 of the terms of reference and scored 10 points. They provided a training plan with methodology, outlined CV of facilitators also included, and scored 20 points. And their total score was 60 over 100. CCG, they provided a demo as per the specification with the same sphere and mandate to the legislature and got all the 30 points there. Project plan, they did supply a project plan as per paragraph 3 of the terms of reference and got the 10 points there. Skills transfer, they provided a training plan with methodology, outlined CV of facilitators included, and got that 20 points. And their total score was 100 over 100. They got the total score. OS Holdings, the presentation did not present on a similar size or a similar environment. They could not score the additional 20 points as they did not make the presentation applicable to the legislature. They did do PowerPoint presentation on ERP systems as per terms of reference and got the 10 points. They supplied a project plan as per paragraph 3 of the terms of reference and got the 10 points. They provided a training plan with methodology, outlined CV of facilitators included. They got 20 points. Their total score was 60 over 100. So, how many did we do in this stage? It's OS Holding 1, it's Baraka 2, it's Adapt IT3, it's CCG 4. So remember we eliminated, out of 9, we eliminated and we were left only with these 4. And now out of these 4, we are eliminating, as remember the requirement was that they should have a 70% to move to the next stage. So only Adapt IT and CCG scored more than 70% to qualify for the next stage of evaluation, which is stage 3, and that stage is pricing. And then they were evaluated and the pricing was calculated, but CCG was the one that the BEC recommended or is recommending, as they scored the highest on the 80-20 preferential procurement principle. They got the highest points there. That will be the all, Chairperson, with respect to the evaluation. The recommendation that we submitted was that CCG Systems is the one that is recommended, as they scored the highest points. Thank you. I will await for any questions or clarities.
Thank you, Mrs. Mabandla. I appreciate your report that you presented from the BEC, the Bid Evaluation Committee, to the Bid Adjudication Committee, by giving us a comprehensive report on each of the service providers, the processes that's followed in evaluating each of the service providers that responded to the tender, and the process of elimination, and the successful service providers that met the minimum requirement, which was members of the Bid Adjudication Committee. For queries, questions, clarity, over to you, members. Thank you very much. Advocate, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Ms. Mabandla, for this quite a detailed report in terms of the work that you have done as a committee. I must just say the committee, the BEC committee, has done a very thorough job. I was going through the document that we have, in my possession, as well as your presentation. It was so detailed that I was interested in terms of the due process. And I was going through, I could say that all the effort was done by this committee to ensure that the due process is followed in terms of all the staging. I was looking into the meetings that we have alluded to as a committee, that back and forth, that is really appreciated. It has made our task, duty and responsibility in terms of the supply chain policy of the legislature. That is alluded to by our CFO in terms of our responsibility, in terms of advising the secretary or the accounting officer in terms of exercising her duty in awarding the contract a bit much more easier because of your work. I must just say, commend you in the effort that was taken by the committee. In particular, in looking into all aspects of CSDs, the tax compliance, the compliance with the bids, all types of SBTs, which we all know that those are normally the issues that if we may be taken into court, we have to prove or ensure that we have complied with that. Especially as well, I was looking into the process of, I was more interested as well into the process of elimination of the other companies that did not make speed into the third stage. In fact, to all the stages. Your report is so detailed in terms of how you reach the conclusion up to the final recommendation that you have. I must say as well on my part, I am satisfied in terms of how you have considered all the bidders, as well as in terms of the fairness that the Advocate Nechudumbu referred to, that were required in terms of FIMPLA, in terms of the constitution of this country, Section 217, as well as other applicable circulars that have been promulgated in the last few years. So I'm satisfied that, as I'm sitting here, that all the reasonable control measures were adhered to, were looked into by the committee. So on my side, I must say, so far, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate. I saw Mr. Mashlaba's hand was up. You may proceed, Mr. Mashlaba.
Thank you, CFO, members of the BAC and the observers as well. I think Advocate Mazosiwe covered me because I was going to appreciate also the report which was also crafted. Maybe just the amendment on the report itself. It's not a major thing. Maybe since I'm privileged in front of me, on page 6 of the report, you see there on the part that talks to the score sheet marked the Annexure F. It should be Annexure G, just for accuracy purposes. Annexure G, not Annexure F, because when I was perusing, the score sheet was on the Annexure G, not Annexure F. But I think CFO and the members of the BAC, I also want to concur with the previous speaker to congratulate and also appreciate the work done by from my side. I think I'm with the thank you very much, CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mashlaba. Advocate, I see you want to come in again, and then followed by Mrs. Tuma, sorry.
And
oh, okay. You may proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, CFO. Without really sounding like a broken record, I just also want to express my sentiments about the whole process that has been followed, that it is so transparent and it is very clear how we got to where we are. And I also would support all what was presented, and that the 100 out of 100 is clear how it came to be. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Any further clarity required on the report that was presented by the chairperson and of course with the team that came to the conclusion on this project? Yes, Advocate, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think as I earlier said, on my side, there's no clarity, there's no issue that needs to be clarified because it was the report as presented by the chairperson of the EC. It is so detailed that it leaves nothing to chance or speculation. So on my side, I'm satisfied.
Thank you, Advocate. Chairperson of BEC, I see you have your hand up, ma'am. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to also say thank you for your for what you have just said, my colleagues, but I wanted to also to say I've actually noted the matter that was raised by Mr. Mhlaba that we should correct as Annexure G. Yes, thank you for that, because in the file it is Annexure G. It's just that we need to correct that F in the report. Thank you for that, Mr. Mhlaba. Thank you, Chairperson. It was only that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Mbandla. I appreciate your comments. I have a query on page 5 of your report, ma'am, which is adapted. And in the report, you say the demonstration, which is the presentation, did not present on a similar size or similar environment. They were more private than public. Do you want to provide some clarity on that with regards to the functionality and the awarding of the points there?
Thank you, Chairperson. The specification was clear on that, on the demonstration of the proposed system. The presentation must be on PowerPoint, and it should have a test dummy on ERP system and on a company of a similar size as the Eastern Cape Legislature, and a company that has got a mandate similar to the one for the legislature. Hence, hence the BEC, when we evaluated, we found that when the company Adapt IT presented, they did not have that part, because we were interested in a part that has as an ex-Eastern Cape Legislature, and Adapt IT was more of having that worked with companies that are on private sector, not public sector, or if I may say, like the Eastern Cape Legislature. It is because it was actually indicated in the specifications, in the terms of reference, that the bidders must have that particular experience. Thank you, Chair. I hope I have explained it correctly, or you can actually understand what I'm saying.
Thank you, Mrs. Mbandla, for the clarity.
Sorry, ma'am, my colleagues are free to add if they can, but that is exactly what we discussed and evaluated on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And again, I would like to please remind all presenters, including myself, to make sure that we unmask and our faces are then visible on the cameras. Thank you. And let's remember to do that going forward. Thank you very much. Is there any one of your other members who would like to contribute to any of the processes that were followed in BEC, or to comment on the clarity that I was seeking, particularly on adapted thus far? Okay. Mrs. Mbandla, I just want to go to the second part of that, pardon me, on page 5 on adapted. You say a needs analysis was questioned in terms of the time frame, but that was not addressed. Could you please provide clarity when you say not addressed? In other words, I'd like to know what was not addressed or it wasn't provided. Thank you. And I'm still on adapted. Thank you.
Maybe I will just ask my colleagues like Monabisi to respond to this one. But it is during the time when they were making the presentation, of which that that part was actually not addressed. Thank you. Mona can also assist here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that. We'll take comments and clarity from one of the other BEC members. You may go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think the chairperson has covered us. I don't have anything to add to what she's explained. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Mabandla, with regard to the query about them not responding or not being addressed within the time frame, could you please provide clarity on that? That's the second question that I have on Adapted. Thank you.
Actually, ma'am, needs analysis. Which one? Okay. It's actually, ma'am, when they were presenting all these things that we actually indicated in their presentation, they actually did not indicate because those areas were stipulated in the terms of reference of the Eastern Cape legislature. So those are the areas that we actually picked as adapt IT not have been addressed according to the terms of TOR of the Eastern Cape legislature tender.
Thank you, ma'am. May I please ask you to turn on your camera, ma'am, so we can see your face. Thank you.
Sorry
Thank
for
you very much. That's fine.
And you too, you were not actually, I couldn't see all the time, but you were presenting. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for responding to that. I'm still back to the BAC members. If there's anything else from any of the members that wants to then contribute to what has been said or any clarity required, we're still adjudicating on the report that was submitted by the chairperson of the BEC. And if there's any other information or clarity required, and I also want to agree that your report is quite comprehensive and provides all the information on the processes you followed. So it's quite easy to follow, I agree. But if there's anything else that is required, any other clarity that's required from the members of the BAC, I'm sure you and your team, ma'am, will be able to then respond to us. Ma'am, if I may ask if you could please summarize the score for the CCG service provider, which we know then scored more than 70% to qualify for the next stage of the evaluation. And if you could then take us to the conclusion of the evaluation process. And as per your report that you recommend they scored the highest, if you could then just summarize that for us, please, ma'am, based on the 80-20 procurement principle.
Thank you, Chair. CCG, the formula they are on BEE status level 1, and their status on BEE is an 80-20. So 80 plus 20, and the points scored were 100. And Adapt IT also on the same BE status level. And then they got 74.13 plus 20 points, which equaled to 94.13. Although, and the CCG was the lowest bidder even in pricing, because their price was 37.107.919 and then Adapt IT was 39,831,927. Hence, the CCG is the highest score on the points that were scored, as they got 100 points, and then Adapt IT got 94.13 points. That is how CCG is recommended, because of those scores. Thank you. We can't hear you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mrs. Mabandla. Thank you for that clarity and providing the information on the scoring for CCG and Adapted. Mr. Mashlaba, you may proceed. Thank you. If you could please also turn on your camera, we'd appreciate that.
Thank you, CFO. Maybe just a follow-up on the question that you have raised. Not just to satisfy also myself, maybe as a BEC member, regarding the pricing schedule. Is it possible if we can be provided the pricing schedule for CCG be flighted on our screen, so that we can just have a comparison of saying the description of that schedule is almost the same as CCG, so that we are not disadvantaging the other to the other. So I'm not sure whether that is possible. Thank you very much, CFO.
You may, Mr. Mashlaba. Thank you. Proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to assist the chairperson of BEC, with us here, maybe I don't know with other members, but I do have the pricing schedule for Adapt It, but I don't have the pricing schedule for CCG. So hence I was asking whether the pricing schedule for CCG can be projected, so that we can be able to compare what we have with Adapt It and also compare with the pricing schedule for CCG. Because, okay, fine, if it is the information is not possible to be projected.
Chairperson, there's only one price scoring sheet where there is also Adapt IT and CCG. They are on the same scoring schedule. I don't know whether Mr. Mhlaba is asking for the correct thing, but the one that is saying, the one that you were correcting us on, saying it's an extra G, that's where both these companies, these bidders are there. If you can look, remember, we are scoring them as on 80s to 20, not 90s to 20, according to the SCM scoring. And maybe if Magda, you can just assist me on just explaining what I'm trying to explain here. But they are in this, the pricing is in the same. I don't know how come that you say you do have Adapt IT and I mean you don't have CG. They are in the same page. Just check, and you just add the BEE status with the points. That's how CCG got 100 points and the other one got 94 points. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mabandla. Pardon me. I will come in, but I'll just give your team member an opportunity then to support what you've been saying. I think you asked for one of your team members to come in. Mr. Mashlaba, I see your hand is up. Yes, ma'am, you may go ahead. Thank you. kindly identify and please switch
Thank
on
you,
cameras.
CFO.
Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. I was going to say, I don't know, Mr. Mhlaba, because I'm looking at our packages that we were given, because the very last page has got the pricing of both CCG and Adapt IT. So I'm not sure where he was looking, maybe just the very last one in the packages that were sent by Mrs. Machis. They have got the prices there. That the hard copies that we got from Mrs. Machis. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much,
Can I?
ma'am. Thank you very much, Mr. Mhlaba. Can I just please come in here? It's on a page that's not numbered. It's got the calculation of the points and the lowest bidders, the prices, the comparative prices. So it gives you CCG. It's on that page and adapted. Ma'am, Mrs. Mabandla, do you want to just read out those two prices? And I see also your colleague from the BEC, Mrs. Skuman, Advocate Skuman wants to come in, and then followed by Mr. Mhlaba. Thank you very much. We'll proceed in that order. Ma'am, thank you for the clarity. We appreciate it, Mrs. Mtuma.
Thank you, Chairperson. Total points scored 94.12. That's the part of scores. I'll give it to Advocate Skuman to just explain a bit. But according to the pricing, CCG also has a lower price and also bid at the higher score. And Adapt IT had a more price because theirs is 39.821927 million and CCG is 37,107,91909 million. Thank you. Martha, can you please come in? I'm sorry, Chairperson. They can come up to.
Okay, that's fine, Mrs. Mubandla. Thank you very much. That was the page I was referring to, but I'd allow the BEC members then to provide any further clarity. Advocate, you may come in, and then followed by Mr. Mhlaba. I'm not sure if there's anybody else that wants to come in, but let's proceed with the two presenters at hand. Thank you very much.
Good morning, CFO, and good morning, my BEC and the BAC. I've listened to Mrs. Mabandla now. That is why she's the chairperson of the BEC. She gave a very good explanation how the 80-20 principle works. 80% of the total out of 100 score is for the pricing. 20% goes for the triple B status. It works on a sliding scale. If you've got a level 1, you get 20 marks for that. If you've got level 2, you come down to 18 marks and then you come down to 16 marks. Both of them, CCG and the DAT, both were on a level 1. But the reason why CCG scored highest is because of the price. They were 37,107. I know I don't have the full amount in front of me, and the DAT was 39,831. I just want to bring it under attention of this meeting. We were only allowed to open the pricing schedules of those who went through to the 4th stage of this evaluation. So only these two companies' pricing schedules were open. All the other pricing schedules and tender documents, we will need to submit it back to the people who has tendered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Advocate. Mr. Mhlaba, you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, CFO. Thank you for the information. Maybe my question was not understood by members, the EC and also the AC. Chairperson, we have been provided here with two documents. The first document talks with the pricing schedule of Adapt IT. And I don't have the pricing schedule of the CCG. Hence, I'm asking Ugodi, do we have a separate document that talks to the pricing schedule of the recommended bidder CCG? Because here we have been provided with a separate document that talks to pricing schedule of the Adapt IT company. That's
Mr.
where
Mhlaba, can you please
having a
switch
problem.
on your camera, sir? Mr. Mhlaba, could you please switch on your camera? Thank you. And you may proceed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, CFO. I maybe you have heard my question, because I was saying we have been provided here with two documents. The first document talks to the report of the BEC, and the second document talks to the pricing schedule of Adapt 8. I thought maybe we'll be provided with the pricing schedule of the CCG as well. Hence, I'm asking, do we have that pricing schedule here? Thank you very much, CFO and the members.
Thank you, Mr. Mashlaba. I'm not sure if there are repeat hands up. Chairperson, and I'll allow you in a minute. If you don't mind, I just want to check if there were any hands up before we go to you. Mrs. Mutuma, you want to come in? Your hand is up, ma'am.
Sorry, CFO, it's an old hand.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarity. Chairperson, you want to come in? Mr. Mashlaba is specifically looking for the pricing schedule that was submitted by the service provider together with their tender documents, from what I understand. If you could respond to that, I'd appreciate it. Or advocate, I'm not sure who's going to take that one, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I can see why Mr. Mhlaba can easily see the pricing schedule of Adapt IT. I think if he can look at the file of the CCG, there is also a pricing schedule for CCG. Hence, we had these two figures. It may happen then maybe he got a file that did not have all the pages, but we do have a pricing schedule for CCG. I thought he was asking the pricing score sheet of that was actually prepared by the BEC after we looked at the two pricing schedules of these two companies. Otherwise, Mr. Mhlaba, I'm unable now to actually direct you to the file of CCG, although I have it in front of me. Can I ask you if you should also check in this one? That is Adapt IT. I can see that the one for Adapt IT was just in the front in the but I'll check for you. But otherwise the scores that the BEC has actually put as the last page or as Annexure G is the one that I just read. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson of BEC. I appreciate you coming back to us on that clarity. We are going to take a comfort break in a few minutes, and my suggestion, ma'am, would be that if you could please get that document out to us, to Mr. Mashlaba, perhaps scan it to him, email it to him in some form, that he gets sight of that document that he's requesting. Then the second question I want to ask, and based on the presentation by the advocate who referred to the comparative prices and the points awarded, CCG was awarded 80 points for the formula, and then 20 for the BEE, and then scored 100 points, and Adapted then were awarded 74.13 for the formula and 20 points for BEE, and therefore then had a total of 94. If I can get clarity from the advocate who said that the reason Adapted scored lower was because of the higher price they quoted in comparison to CCG, was that the only reason? Because if you remember when I started seeking clarity at the beginning of the session, I asked, why did they not score because of them not presenting, making a presentation on a similar size environment? That was the first question. And then my second was that they with regards to the needs analysis, and you then responded by saying they did not meet those requirements. So can I just get clarity that they scored lower just based on price, or is it because they also did not meet the 2 requirements that was requested, which is on page 5 of your report, ma'am? Thank you. And I think once we've got responses to that, we can take a comfort break and then allow you, ma'am, to be able to provide the pricing schedule that was submitted by the service provider with their tender documents. Thank you so much. You, ma'am, with the camera, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. This is stage 4 of the evaluation. So the stages you're referring to does not have an effect on this stage. So the only 2 things we had to take a look at, it's price and the BBB status. Just the 2 factors you are mentioning here, we didn't consider it in this stage. Only price and only the BBB status.
Thank you for clarifying which stage was this report prepared on. I think I now understand that process. Based on that, I think it's now 11:15. If we all agree, internal, external observers and participants, if we could take a 10-minute break and then come back at 11:05. And that will then, I hope, ma'am, Mrs. Smith-Bandler, give you an opportunity to be able to provide the document that was requested. Are we all in agreement?
Agreed, ma'am.
Yeah, agreed, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your cooperation. So we will resume at 11:05. Give us 10 minutes for a comfort break. Thank you very much. And observers, welcome back. We will now resume our process of adjudication. We have one item that needs to be presented by the chairperson of the BEC, which is the evaluation committee, in response to requesting the pricing schedule of the company service provider, CCG Pty Limited. Thank you. We may proceed, ma'am. Thank you very much. Please, cameras.
Thank you, Chairperson. I must apologize that colleagues could not find the CCG pricing schedule. It's in the file, and maybe it's just an error that it was not photocopied, but it's here in the file. I will provide it to those members that did not get it, so that we are able to see the pricing of CCG. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You may proceed, ma'am. Thank you.
Come again, ma'am. I've just said that I actually received the pricing schedule. I don't know what you're saying. I must proceed. I've actually got it. I will forward it to all the members of the bid award committee, and it's just that maybe whoever was making photocopies for their file did not see the pricing schedule. Thank you. But it is available.
Thank you. Are you able to flight it? If not, you can read it to us, ma'am. We'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, it's quite. I'm not able to flight it. It's the total amount that is including VAT is 37,107,919.09. Otherwise, they quoted on areas of hardware, which is totaling 350,000, on areas of software, which is totaling 4,883,932, on areas of annual license fees, which is totaling to 4,212,982, and on area of implementation fees, which is totaling to 32. The subtotal is 32,267,755 plus VAT, which is 4,840,163, and the total is 37,107,919.09. I hope that is enough.
Thank you, Mrs. Mabandla. We appreciate that, and the copies would be sent to all the BAC members. Thank you for that. Mr. Mashlaba, I see your hand is up. Do you still want to come in, sir? Thank you. You may proceed with your camera switched on. Thank you.
Hand is up. With your camera. Thank you, CFO, and members.
Mr. Mashlaba, we did not get what you were responding to. If you could repeat, sir, perhaps it was just a connectivity problem. Thank you very much.
I just want to confirm, CFO, that I do have the pricing schedule and
sorry, Mr. Mashlaba, I think there's some feedback. We're unable to hear you, sir. Mr. Mashlaba, my apologies. We're unable to hear you clearly.
Thank you very much.
Chair, I think she is indicating that he got
to
We can't hear you, CFO.
My apologies. I'm saying
okay.
yes. Mr. Mashlaba, can you please help us?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me,
Yes,
members?
yes.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Mashlaba, I think it's much clearer. Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Mashlaba.
Hello.
You may proceed, Mr. Mashlaba. Mr. Mashlaba, you may proceed, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Mashlaba, I put my hand up. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Can you hear us, Mr. Mashlaba?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Members, both BEC and BAC, I think we have a problem in connecting with Mr. Mashlaba. I'm not sure if anybody was able to hear. Ma'am, Mrs. Mambandla, you sounded like you were able to hear what he was saying. Would you like to perhaps help us with that while we try and make contact with him on the phone to advise him that we weren't able to hear him? Thank you, ma'am.
Chairperson, I was trying to say Mr. Mhlaba was actually trying to confirm that he has received the pricing schedule for CCG. He wanted to confirm that. And I am saying all other members will get if they don't have it in their files, will get the copy. Maybe it was just an error of not printing or not photocopying for their files. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the clarity. Okay, I think then that would then respond to Mr. Mashlaba's query that he raised before we took a comfort break. Based on that, are there any other queries or questions before we move on to the next part of the process, which is to deal with the compliance and all the other administrative matters on the bid evaluation committee's report and the successful bidder that has been recommended by the bid evaluation committee chairperson's report to the BAC. Any hands? Am I missing anybody on my screen? I don't see anybody that wants to respond further. That being the case, then can we move on to the next part of the process? And that's to look at the compliance issues with regards to the process of the ERP system that we have commenced. If you could apologize, if you could excuse me for 1 minute. I think Mr. Mashlaba is on the other line, and I just want to hear what it is Mr. Mashlaba wants to say before we proceed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CFO. Can you hear me now, CFO? And
yes, thank
members?
you, Mr. Mashlaba. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yes, I've got some connectivity challenges. Yes. No, I just want to say, CFO, I do have the information with me now. I just want to thank the BEC members for their assistance. Thank you very much, CFO. I'm happy now.
Thank you, Mr. Maslaba. Okay. Well, we've concluded on the queries and questions on the report that we've received, and we'd like to thank the chairperson and the BEC members for providing the clarity and information and other supporting information that was requested. I'd like to now move on to the governance issues on the 4 stages that have brought us to the report that was presented by BEC, which is a recommendation of the successful service provider CCG and how we got there. So I'm going to go through it stage by stage based on the process that was followed as per the policy and FIMPLA to bring us to the conclusion of the report from the chairperson of the BEC. So I'd like to then go through to each member of the BAC, the Adjudication Committee members, if you could please indicate with a verbal response if you are comfortable, if you're not, and then we'll go stage by stage. And while I'm on that point, I see there is a hand up, and that it is Advocate Skuman. Please go ahead, Advocate. Thank you.
Sorry, CFO, to interrupt here. I just want to put it on record that we did find a pricing schedule of CCG in the file, that I did make a copy during the tea break for Mr. Maslaba, and I did make a copy for the chairperson of the BEC as well. I just want to confirm that, and that it has been minuted, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Advocate. We did get that confirmation from the chairperson of the committee as well, and thank you for your confirmation, and the reports will then be distributed to the relevant officials and chairperson of the BEC committee. Thank you very much, ma'am. We're now going to move on to the governance issues around the process that brought us to this meeting this morning. So with regards to that, as I've said, each member of the BAC then needs to indicate verbally whether they're comfortable, whether they have the assurance that they require in order for us to proceed and then conclude on this process this morning. And if there's any queries or any issues, we'd like to hear them here so we can minute them and then respond to it. Or if there's further clarity required, we need to then take that into consideration. So I'll go through stage 1, the opening and closing of the bid, that process that was followed, that then resulted in the sitting of the BEC. Are we comfortable that, or if we're not, please indicate verbally, BAC members, with the first stage of the process that was followed by BEC. May I have each of the members then come through and give a verbal indication on the opening, closing, and recording, etc. Mr. Maslaba, you may go ahead, sir.
Thank you, CFO, members of the BEC and members of the BAC as well, and the observers. I hereby declare that I'm satisfied with the processes followed in appointing the recommended bidder, which I do actually concur with the recommendation. Thank you very much, CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Maslaba. We're doing it stage by stage. So we'll go stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. That will bring us to the conclusion of who the successful bidder was. If we can go through each stage, and each member then needs to indicate their decision based on the compliance with the stage 1 at this stage. Maybe you want to go again, Mr. Maslaba,
So
on that one?
I'm happy with the stage 1. I'm happy with stage 1, the processes that were followed on stage 1. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then Advocate, I think it's you next, and then followed by the other member, and then myself will come in. And while we're on this discussion, it is the chairperson of BEC is then making copies for us so we can get the pricing schedule before we conclude this morning's proceedings, because there's no other way to send it. So we asking for hard copies to be delivered to each of the members. Thank you very much, and I will get a copy soon as well. Thank you, Advocate, you may proceed. This is just in terms of the opening and closing. We're not at the stage of the pricing as yet.
Good morning, colleagues, again. I'm satisfied with the process with respect to the first stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Thank you, CFO. I, Phumza Mbutuma, I am satisfied with the processes that has been followed on stage 1 of the procurement processes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I, Raimunisha Abdul, do hereby declare that I am satisfied and have the assurance that the process of the opening and closing stage 1 of the bids has been met and is compliant. Thank you. If I may, participants that's on the platform, which is the BEC members and the BAC members, if you could just give me a few minutes while we're waiting for the pricing schedule to arrive, and then we can then ensure that we have a pricing schedule that we all have sight of, and then we can proceed from there on, because the next stage is the functionality. So if you could just give me a few minutes, as soon as I have received it, I will then proceed to the next stage. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Yes, I'm here.
Can I think now it is left with you to. I think now it is left with you to make your decision as the BAC. May we be excused then as the BEC, as I think we've actually done our part, and actually the photocopies are on your way to your office. Thank you.
Thank you kindly for making the copies, and hopefully we'll get it shortly. Ma'am, to respond to you, we're going to go through the 4 stages, and we may require clarity or further information. So I would suggest, ma'am, that you please remain with us. And once we've done that, then you are then free to exit this meeting. But we're still on BEC matters. So you would still be required to remain in the meeting with us, ma'am. Thank you.
Chairperson, there's a hand from Advocate Kuman.
Advocate, do you still require to come in? Because we temporarily adjourned until we're waiting for documents.
I just want to confirm, Chair, I've mailed you the pricing schedule. I'm sorry, on your personal email address because of our service being down. Just have a look. The pricing schedule is there, and I just gave copies to your office as well, and she's running on her way with the pricing schedule.
Thank you. If I may ask, thank you for that. We appreciate you doing that. If you could then email it to all the BAC members as well, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I don't have their personal email addresses. That is the big issue I'm sitting with. I've got your personal email address. If Zaki can just send me her personal email address, I can email it to Zaki because I'm quite sure she's got everybody's personal email address.
Thank you, Advocate. We appreciate that. Yes, Mr. Mashlaba. May I kindly request phone interference be switched off if you don't mind. Yes, Mr. Mashlaba, do you want to come in? And then I see Advocate is also wanting to come in. Go ahead, Mr. Mashlaba. Thank you.
No, I was going to say, CFO, I've tried to assist Advocate Skuman. I've sent the document to all the members of the BAC. I think they should have it by now. They must please check their emails. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mhlaba. We received it. I have received my copy. Thank you.
Thank you to all, Mr. Mashlaba, Advocate, and the chairperson of BEC. We appreciate you providing us with the documents. You could just give us a few minutes to resume. Thank you. Thank you to all. We've received hard copies and we've received soft copies. Thank you very much. That's really going the extra mile, BEC, and the chairperson as well, and members. Thank you very much. We may then proceed unless there's any other query with regards to the pricing schedule that we've received. Does anybody else want to then address this, Mr. Mashlaba? I'm not sure if you now received this document and it's all in order for you.
CFO and members, I do have the information. I think to me it is all in order. Thank you.
For confirming, Mr. Mashlaba. On that note, we can then proceed on the assurance and the governance of, section of the process this morning. We completed stage 1, which was the opening and closing of the bids. We on stage 2, which is the functionality. Are there any queries there? Are we any issues, any clarity required, or everybody at the back members are then satisfied that the processes were followed and complied with in order to conclude on the functionality level? Stage. We'll go around again through to the back members, the BAC members. If you could please indicate verbally with cameras on, please, on that stage 2 of the process with regards to compliance, governance, controls, etc.
Thank you, CFO. I, Sister Timothy Mhlaba, I hereby actually declare that I'm satisfied. The process is followed on the stage number 2. Thank you very much, CFO.
Thank you. We may proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and everybody. Zunzima Mazosiwe, the member of BAC, hereby declare that I am satisfied with the due process and the compliance in terms of the standards required with regard to functionality. Thank you.
Thank you. We may proceed.
I, Phumza Mbutuma, the member of the BAC, declare that I am satisfied with stage 2 of the processes as presented. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. And finally, I, Rahimunisha Abdul, the member of BAC and chairperson of the BAC, do hereby declare that I am satisfied with the process that was followed in concluding on the functionality stage of the BEC process. Thank you very much. Attended for the project, and we go through the same thing there.
I, Sister Timothy Mhlaba, the member of the BAC, I hereby declare that I'm satisfied with the processes followed on stage number 3. Thank you, CFO and members.
Thank you. Can proceed. Thank you.
I am Zunzima Mazosiwe, satisfied with the process with regard to the stage 3 followed in the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I, Phumza Mbutuma, the member of the BAC, declare publicly that I am satisfied with the processes that have been followed on stage 3 of the awarding. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
We can't hear you, CFO.
My apologies. I, Manisha Abdul, do hereby confirm that I am satisfied with the processes that were followed in stage 3 by the BEC in concluding on that stage of the process. Thank you very much. That then brings us to the final stage 4, which is the pricing. It's based on the formula and the BEE points awarded. We'll follow the same process. Mr. Mhlaba, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. I, Sister Timothy Mhlaba, member of the BAC, hereby declare that I'm satisfied with the processes followed on this stage number 4 that talks to the pricing schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I, Nzunzima Mazosiwe, the member of the BAC, hereby declare that I am satisfied with the compliance of stage 4 regarding the pricing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may proceed, ma'am.
I, Phumza Mbutuma, declare that I am satisfied with the processes of stage 4 that talk to price schedule towards the procurement processes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. I, Manisha Abdul, member of the BAC and chairperson of BAC, do hereby declare that I am satisfied with the pricing based on the formula and the BBBE points awarded to the successful bidder, which is CCG Systems. Thank you very much. BAC members, let me start with BEC. I'd like to, BEC members, the chairperson and members, I'd like to thank you for your presentation, for bringing information to this meeting this morning, providing clarity where there was clarity seeking questions or queries and any other information that was requested. And of course, in the process you followed in concluding on the BEC process, including the satisfactory probability audit report that we received from the auditors who are observing this process as well. So thank you very much for your time and the manner and the documents that were presented to the BAC committee. Thank you so much. That would then bring us to the final process of the BAC this morning. And BAC members, thank you very much for partaking in this process as well, interacting with BEC members as well to get the information and clarity that you required, and assurance as well on the oversight processes that was followed for BEC to conclude on, and then finally for BAC to conclude on. So based on the information that we received and our verbal confirmation that we were satisfied with the processes, the stages that was followed by BEC, we then would recommend to the accounting officer our decision then to proceed with the recommendation that BEC chairperson submitted to the committee of the adjudication committee. So thank you very much for that. Based on that, we will then proceed and then submit to the accounting officer for the final decision to be made in the awarding of this contract to the successful bidder, CCG Systems. Thank you very much. Are there any other comments, queries, questions? Okay, based on that, I then adjourn this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson.
You're welcome. Thank you to all. And then we have now.
So is this the end of the session, CFO?
Yes, Mr. Mashlaba, do you want to start another session?
No. Thank you.
So thank you, everybody. I think it was a successful session that we had, and it was our pilot project, and I think it went very well based on the fact that it was a pilot project, and to all the support to ICT for arranging the platforms, for legal services, for providing input on the Public Adjudication Act, etc. So thank you to all, to management, staff, labor. If I've left anybody out, I apologize. And of course, the main observers that we've had was from the public, and we've allowed them to partake in this process. So thank you very much for participating with us on this process. And we've now come to the end of it. So I'd like to say thank you, and we can adjourn. Go well, stay safe, and please remember it's stage 4 of level 4 of the COVID protocols. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, CFO.
Thank you.